1902, you had a
More than any other time, the 18th century is the golden age of refinement, elegance, and delicacy. It has been my favorite period since my childhood, and often people think it's because of the fashion or the dresses of the time or because of Marie Antoinette. There are many more and deeper reasons than that. How could anyone not be under the spell of a society which is extremely well educated, well-read, polite, loving the delights of the mind to distraction?
And I know what severe and grumpy people are going to say to blame the 18th century. It's all very well nice and comfortable for aristocrats and wealthy people. Yes, of course, but there is no century which has despised money and material possessions and success the way we see it today as the 18th century. If you had a very big chateau, you came to Versailles in your very big and spectacular carriage, but you had the brain of an oyster, you had no wit, you were incapable of doing any bon mot off the bat instantly. Nobody would pay attention to you. Nobody would be impressed by your possessions, your chateau or your carriage, or even your money. And it makes a huge difference with all the following centuries and our modern time, because no other centuries has celebrated the fireworks of the mind as the 18th century.
This century comforts me, inspires me, dazzles me and makes me laugh all the time. I need to surround myself with objects, engravings, paintings, books and documents which come from that period or reflect the enchantments of that time. But to start, let's open a page in chapter 14 of the book À rebours Against Nature, written by Joris Carl Huysmans in 1885, that I already mentioned in a previous video. But this time it's another excerpt which might resonate with you if you feel an alien to your century. In fact, when the period in which a man of talent is obliged to live is dull and stupid, the artist, though unconsciously, is haunted by a nostalgia of some past century. Finding himself unable to harmonize, save at rare intervals, with the environment in which he lives. He recalls memories of things he has never really known, and a time comes when he escapes from the penitentiary of his age and roves in full liberty into another epoch, with which through a last illusion he seems more in harmony. In this chaotic world we live in, it feels even more comfortable to revisit and explore the wonders of this century. Talleyrand, a minister of Napoleon and upcoming French king, wrote, "A person who didn't live before 1789 has never known the pleasures of life. Though I didn't live before 1789, I want to experience and explore the delights of this time in any way I can. I like this century because it puts me in a good mood, because it's the most joyful century. Its inhabitants make me laugh all the time." Every time I open a book written at this time, I have to laugh. It's the golden age of epigrams and bon mots, which contrasts with the seriousness and the darkness of the 19th century which will follow. And a bon mot has to be funny, elegant and sharp all at once and instantly. And of course, the 18th century invades all corners of my studio. I have many projects in progress inspired by the 18th century that you are going to see unfold in the upcoming days and weeks. Scents and beautiful fragrances have also the power to transport us at once to another time and place. I chose an amber scent for a nice and cozy winter atmosphere because amber was used a lot in the 18th century, as well as frangipane or almond scent. I've been offered recently this beautiful soap inspired by Les Jardins d'Armide, the Gardens of Armide. It is a hint for two pieces I have created for an exhibition 2 years ago, for the exhibition Magie Baroque. And here this soap is made by one of the oldest perfume maker in Paris, which opened its doors in 1720. And this one smells really delicious. So the next time you stop in Paris, you have to visit this shop. And the name is Oryza Le Grand. A warm cup of hot chocolate instantly transports me in the 18th century. It's possible to time travel with your own palate. Hot chocolate was extremely appreciated back then. Louis L'Emery, in his Traité des Aliments, published in 1702, gives the different ways you can prepare hot chocolate. In cold weather, chocolate suits especially elderly people and persons with cold tempers. On the other hand, younger people with hot and warmer temper should avoid it. Chocolate is without a doubt the best thing that came from America after gold and silver.
So Louis L'Emery, back in 1702, tells you how to prepare your hot chocolate. So you can use some water, you can have some cow milk, some chicory water, or some almond milk. How delightful that back in 1702 you had a lactose-free option already available. You can add a lot of spices and an egg to have a thicker texture. You can also add some grey amber and some cinnamon and different sort of spices. He also specifies that hot chocolate should be drunk as warm as possible. It's very warm.
Apart from the decorative arts, architecture, painting, music, the refinement of the language is one of the reasons which makes me love this century so much. The French language has reached a peak of excellence during this time, which will slowly decline after 1789. There are so many words and charming expressions which are no longer used by modern people that modern people wouldn't even understand actually. Here are some of my favorite ones. The verb persifler, which means to laugh at someone in a mean way. And the noun which goes with it, which is persiflage. You find this word in every memoir, any novel, any book from the 18th century. They were using it constantly. The expression rendre des soins, which is really charming. Today people would think it has to do with some medical field. The word soin, which is the translation of care, is very much used now for any medical expression or purpose. At the time, this expression would mean courting a woman, caring for a woman. It's a very delicate and charming expression. I like also avoir du goût pour quelqu'un, to have the taste for someone, or to like the flavor of someone. It's also an expression of the love language, which is really, really charming and elegant. So why not using some forgotten expression of the past in our modern time to make this language alive again? The 18th century is definitely the century of politeness and good manners. Here are some funny pages I found in my book of Les règles de la bienséance. Page 44, we have: it's very impertinent to talk about sad things during happy times. Low and light topics among well-educated people. Nuanced and delicate matters in front of ignorant people. More than anything, never talk about your dreams. Our conversation has always to suit the place and the time and the circumstances we are in. Just like talking of desiccating a corpse in the middle of a meal is absolutely inappropriate. This made me laugh a lot. Page 36. Don't fall asleep when others are talking. Don't sit when they are standing. Don't walk when they stop. And don't kill fleas, bugs, or any other vermin with people around you. This one is another of my favorite, which is a bit strange, but it's quite funny. Never add a monsieur or a madame next to an ambiguous word. For example, it would be extremely rude to say, "This book is bounded with the skin of a pig, monsieur." "He was riding a donkey, monsieur." In a sentence, the word monsieur or madame should always be far to any sort of animals. I thought it was pretty funny.
And you let me know what are your favorite period in history, your favorite century or decade you like to escape to from time to time, and how do you do it? And what are the strategies and ways you are using to time travel in your favorite time of history? Let me know in the comments. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, drinking a nice warm cup of hot chocolate, the way they were preparing it back in the 18th century. I'm going to finish my cup of hot chocolate. I also wanted to remind you that the Ghost Bird in the 18th century cage is still open for a few more days, so you have a last chance to join before the workshop closes its doors till next year. And once enrolled, you can follow the workshop at your own rhythm and do and start your cage when you want. All the details can be found under this video. And for me, I will see you very soon. We will continue to visit and explore the 18th century, but in another way. You will see that very soon. Thank you very much for joining me today.